Talk to me, Michelle. On the street lights on the corner. City vibes got a story. Feel the beat, don't ignore me.
Welcome into another episode of Talk to Me, Michele. I am your host, Michele, with one L, and I know my people are doing good out there because the holiday season is among us. I promise you, the older I get, the less the holidays resonate with me because there's just so much commercial to it and less human interaction nowadays. So I'm just like, let's just get this done, get to January 1st and just get this party started. But anyway, I want to get on a personal note because this episode definitely is hitting personal and it's timely because I have been frustrated this last couple of weeks. I'm not going to even lie. I thought it was a few days, but it's really been a couple of weeks. I just been frustrated with a lot of stuff. And I didn't realize how much it was affecting me. It wasn't depression. It just felt different. It was more like a low-grade storm brewing inside me. And I found myself snappy, uninterested in doing much, and just flat out annoyed with everything. Life wasn't moving at the pace I wanted to, and it made me even more frustrated. Now for me, it's things like finances. It's always a factor. But beyond that, it's a daily filtering of interacting, and we all have to deal with it. Lately, I've been feeling like I don't want to filter anymore. I'm at that point. I just want to acknowledge what's bothering me without having to entertain it. But it's not always that simple. The latest episode of frustration hit me hard and by surprise, because I've been on a spiritual journey, been trying to do positive vibes and all that good stuff. Let's all sing Kumbaya together. But it was family related. My dad, bless his heart, he's been doing a little too much lately. And one morning I found myself stuck in some back and forth with him, trying to get him situated. And honestly, it just ruined my entire mood. And I get it. He'd do the same for me without hesitation. But on that particular day, I just wasn't feeling it. Then, of course, my sister. We're super close and we love each other. But we also can frustrate each other. And we'll give advice back and forth. And sometimes it's taken or it's ignored. And when one of us makes it obviously questionable about the choices that one of us makes, it drives one of us nuts. And it's not about intelligence. We're both smart women. But frustration has this sneaky way of creeping into even making the best relationships testing. And if you don't address it, it can throw you completely off track. That's why today I wanted to get into what causes these feelings. Share some tools I found helpful and hopefully leave us all with a little bit more positivity and peace by the end of this episode. Granted, life is full of little irritations. Whether it's something on the news, something that's happening at home, or even at work. Frustration just finds its way into our daily routines. Now for me, humor is one of my first resources. I try to laugh things off whenever I can. Even if it's just a little joke I tell to myself in my own head. For instance, when somebody does something that's totally predictable, I'll think to myself, oh, typical them. And of course they do that, classic. It's a little inside joke I have with myself. Sure, it's slightly sarcastic. I get that. But it's a way for me to talk myself off the ledge before frustration takes over completely. But let's be real. Sometimes I need to get the steam off first before I can even see the funny side of things. So I want to share some moments with you that will show you how I've learned to channel that frustration to something productive or even positive. So there are going to be some examples of those everyday moments that test our patience and how I've learned to navigate them, exploring some tools that help manage and redirect frustration for me when I feel it's taken over, whether it's through humor, creativity, or just giving myself a moment to breathe. And most importantly, look at ways to avoid letting frustration drain the energy from us and focus on turning it into something that works for us, but not against us. I know all of us have daily irritations. And if we're not careful, they can start to fester. They stick with us a little bit longer than they should. For me, a lot of these moments come from my family, but because let's face it, when you deal with people on a regular basis, personalities are bound to clash sometimes. Take my sister, for example. We both have strong personalities, and sometimes we bump heads. But sometimes it's irritating because I feel sometimes the conversation can be dominated. So my dad, on the other hand, I love him dearly as well, but there are moments when he's on my back about something that I need to handle. And I just want to scream, I got it. You don't have to keep nagging me about stuff. I got it. It's just irritating sometimes. But family isn't the only source of those little nerve pinching moments. Because life throws so much our way, you never know where it's going to come from. Just prime examples. Having to refill the gas tank for me on a regular basis is almost like a daily task for me because Texas, minimum 30 minutes anywhere. Then you got to navigate through 15 tolls in Houston just to get to your destination. It seems like it never ends. It's either construction or tolls, and there's always traffic. Traffic, people cut you off like they have zero sense of space between the vehicles. I mean, you could just be like a pinch away and they just jump in front of you. And when it comes to shopping, people right now are walking around stores glued to their phones like zombies. They have no sense of direction. They'll stand in the middle of the aisle and be talking crazy, be on in speakerphones. I don't need to hear your conversation. Why are you in public on a speakerphone? So it's obvious, everything is about them and they are not aware of anything going on around them. All these daily irritations pile up. And before you know it, they're harboring frustration in ways that feel like they'll never go away. It's no wonder we find ourselves snapping, feeling overwhelmed sometimes. But that's exactly why I want to talk about how not to let these little moments completely derail your peace. And more importantly, how to channel all that bottled up frustration to something more positive. So why do we get so frustrated? First, let's acknowledge one thing. Frustration is completely a normal emotional response. Everybody experiences it. And honestly, it does not take much to send us into that zone, especially if we're already dealing with a buildup of other frustrations beforehand. Now, frustration has a couple of places that they just brew from. There's key places. I'm going to say one for me is unmet expectations. And that's an example I'm going to use because you might set a goal to ace a test. Maybe you're saving up for a vacation and things just don't go as planned. You didn't get the grade you wanted, or unexpected expense forced you to dip into your vacation fund. So that's gap between what we hope for and what actually happens. And that drives me nuts. And I know other people feel my frustration. And life has this funny way of reminding us that we're really not in control of everything. You might feel like you're doing all the right things. You're planning ahead, budgeting, taking care of your responsibilities, and yet something always seems to throw a wrench in your plans. That lack of control can be infuriating. As humans, we naturally try to fight against it. I don't know why, but we try to have control on everything, and it just does not exist. And let's be real. Life be doing a lot, okay? Between work, family, kids, taking care of yourself, it's easy to feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders. And if you're someone who's putting in the effort every single day, that pressure can pile up quickly. Sometimes we try to take on more than we realistically can handle, and it leaves us feeling completely drained. But frustration doesn't just pop out of nowhere. It builds, it lingers, and if we're not careful, it could take a toll on our mental and emotional health. But the good news is that understanding why we get frustrated is the first step to managing it. So let's try to shift our frustration into positivity, because frustration is inevitable, but staying stuck in it doesn't have to be. The key of learning to shift that energy into something more productive, something more positive. Everyone has different outlets, and just finding an outlet can make the difference. Now, some tools I found helpful to manage my frustration include pause and breathe. The P and B. Not peanut butter and jelly, but P and B. Pause and breathe. But sometimes the first thing you do need to do is just take a step back and breathe. Practicing mindfulness, meditation techniques, they can be effective. And personally, I meditate every morning for 5 to 10 minutes. During that time, I focus on keeping a positive state of mind, speaking affirmations, journaling. I'm listening to my frequency music, and I'm mainly journaling what I'm thankful for. Now that works for me because regardless on how my day goes, I'm starting off my day with gratitude. I'm setting a positive tone so it can give me a mental cushion against the challenges of the day. So if you do get a point of frustration during the day, all you gotta do is pause and take a couple of deep breaths. Only takes a minute, but it cannot completely reset your mood. It's just a way to kind of bring you down. Because there have been times I've been irritated by friends. Friends who seem so distracted when we're talking. And it took me some time to realize I felt like my concerns weren't being taken seriously. So I eventually spoke to these friends. I'm like, either we're going to talk or you need to go ahead and do what you got to do. And we reached a mutual understanding. And they was like, well, thank you for pointing that out. Hey, and it's all about how you bring something to somebody. Don't just think you can go in there talking crazy. Because that's how the tone you bring it in is the tone you're going to get it back in. So what I need you to do is say, hey, I would like to talk to you about this. It's all good, but it's, really great in my ass. Just letting you know. Now, this works better because addressing the root issue prevents a lingering resentment and helps you take more of a meaningful action. And frustration can be a powerful motivator when used correctly. Instead of letting it fester, let's turn it into something productive or creative. So personally, what I do when I'm feeling frustrated, I turn to my creative outlets. Today, for example, I channel my frustration into preparing this episode and designing a flyer. So by the time I get through with all this, I have had not only worked through my emotions, but I've also accomplished something that's meaningful. Now, of course, you have other options. You could try yoga, painting, cooking, journaling. I don't do the yoga, but or the painting, but cooking and journaling, I got that. Take a walk, hit the gym, just to release some pent-up energy. This also works because you don't have to be stuck in a negative cycle. You're actively transforming that energy into something positive and rewarding. Frustration doesn't have to control your day. By pausing to breathe, digging into the root cause, and channeling your emotions into action, you can regain control and even use these moments as opportunities for growth and creativity. Let's make frustration positive. How do you do that? Let's talk about some creative outlets. Like I just went over a couple of mine, but when frustration strikes, I find that creative outlets can be a lifesaver. They help me process emotions. You can express yourself and redirect your energy into something positive. So a few ways I channel my frustration, I'm writing. Like again, I do the journal writing, and I also have two different journals. One for the thankfulness and one where I need to vent, because I don't want to combine all that energy because I want to start my day off positive. But if I have a bump in the road during the day, I need to go ahead and vent. So let me go ahead and write that out. The beauty of it is that you can get everything off your chest without anybody interrupting you, judging you. Writing things down to make your frustrations feel more manageable, because seeing them on paper or on a screen, it helps you process them better. I often journal my thoughts when I'm feeling overwhelmed, starting with a prompt like, what's really bothering me right now? Or how can I flip this into something positive? Now, podcasting is one of my favorite creative outlets. It gives me the space to have honest conversations, whether with myself or others, about life, emotions, and challenges we all face. Sharing these experiences not only helps me process my feelings, but also connects me with listeners who might be going through the same thing. Like if I'm preparing for this episode, this was a good way for me to channel my frustration into something productive. So I'm turning my energy into a creative project. I also love creating content, whether it's a reel for social media, a flyer, or a piece of art. It's not about the perfection, but the process of creating something that resonates. And crafting content related to relatable frustrations can even help others feel seen and understood. Because like I said previous episodes, I am creatively petty. Yes, I am. So if I get frustrated, I pull out my creative petty. I may record a reel, keep things very gentle, cute, and witty. And I've got it off my chest. And I don't have to worry about, well, you talking about me. Well, I didn't say anybody's name, did I? The shoe must fit. So if you're looking for a way to process your frustration, just try journaling. Try a few prompts for frustration so you can write down exactly where it is. I'm going to also highly recommend meditation. It took me such a long time to learn how to sit still, shut down my thoughts, or at least the majority of them. Don't think it's intimidating. So you got to try it first, but it's a lot simpler than it seems. Start small and build from there. Like I said, I do my morning routine, and you can find all these frequency playlists on all these music platforms. If you're trying to be more creative, you're trying to manifest money, you're trying to manifest good vibes, you clear your chakra, all that's available through frequency vibes. And I also believe in water manifestation. That's whether you're showering or if you're taking a hot soak. Now, if you are showering, imagine the water, you're washing away the frustrations. You're speaking affirmations like, I release negativity and embrace peace. It sounds, like a little odd, but I'm telling you, water has power, and at least you are verbalizing it. Now, if you're going to take a nice soak, I recommend you light a candle, play some soothing frequencies, and allow yourself to soak and relax. Just visualize the stress leaving your body as you focus on your breathing. Creative outlets and practical exercises like journaling, meditation can turn frustration into a positive, productive force. They're simple yet effective tools that anyone can use to regain their balance and refocus their energy. So in closing this episode, we did have a chance to deal with a little life daily irritations and frustrations, sharing the personal stories. I hope you guys, found some relevance in those, but also the practical tools like journaling, meditation, and creative outlets to shift frustration to something positive. So whether you're taking a moment to breathe, identify the root of the problem, what's really bothering you, or channeling that energy into something productive, now you have a toolkit to turn those moments of irritation into opportunities of growth. Remember, frustration isn't just an obstacle. It's a signal that something needs your attention. When you approach it with mindfulness and purpose, it can become a stepping stone to something greater. I want to leave you with this motivational quote to reflect on. Frustration, although quite painful at times, is a very positive and essential part of success. Bo Bennett. The next time you feel frustration creeping in, remember this. It's a sign that you're pushing boundaries, growing and striving for better. Let it fuel your journey instead of holding you back. So I appreciate everybody tuning into this episode. Again, thank you guys again. And if you have a moment, please leave me a review on wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check out the other great shows on the MBG Podcast Network, where we are continuing to spread Black excellence. And you can support this podcast by visiting at buymeacoffee.com. Talk to Me Michele with one L. And you can follow me on all social platforms at Talk to Me Michele. Make sure you guys go check out the YouTube channel, because that's where all the action happens before I convert it to audio. So if you go to my YouTube channel and turn on your notifications, you'll know when we're going live with a great live conversation. Thank you guys again so much. I appreciate you. So until next episode, peace.